your seats.
Welcome to something special. Welcome to TEDx. This TEDx event is part of a global conversation that takes place every day in every corner of the world. In schools, in theaters, in workplaces, even in prisons, people gather to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. More than 3,000 TEDx events are held every year in 170 countries. It's a remarkable thing. TEDx events are self-organized under a license from TED, a non-profit organization devoted to discovering and sharing powerful ideas in the form of TED Talks. It's not TED itself, but your local TEDx team of volunteers that has done all the work to put on today's event, including booking all of the speakers. It's this team's ideas, dedication, and time that have made this possible. We really hope today's program sparks an exciting conversation. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you will take out. And now, on with the show.
Life is a series of steps. Often we find ourselves standing at the crossroads of familiarity and the unknown. But tonight is about moving beyond what's familiar and taking that step into the unknown, into uncharted territory. To venture into uncharted territory is to encounter new challenges, opportunities, and potential risks. Uncharted territory is stepping outside of one's comfort zone and venturing into unfamiliar areas of growth, self-discovery, and personal transformation. As we journey through tonight's event, we at TEDx Grand Canyon University invite you to lean in as our speakers show us how to navigate the currents of development with resilience, adaptability, and an unwavering belief in our ability to explore uncharted territory and unlock the opportunities of greatness that come with the unknown.
On January 6th, I found myself waking up on a plane. I wasn't kidnapped, if that's where your heads went. I was okay. I had just been asleep for 7 hours and forgot that I was thousands of miles from the ground. As I got off the plane, I was met with a sign that read, "Benvenuti a Roma," welcome to Rome. Instantly, I was overwhelmed with sounds I've never heard, scents I've never smelled, and worst of all, signs I couldn't read. My sports-based missions trip to Italy was a time I've never felt so unfamiliar with life. Talk about uncharted territory. Good evening, my name is Crystal Benjamin, and I have the esteemed pleasure of being your host tonight. And I'd love to welcome you to TEDx Grand Canyon University's 2024 main event. Tonight you'll hear from 8 amazing speakers as they share their perspectives on uncharted territory. In addition, we have Frame the Ink with us, who will be creating live art during each talk. So to prepare for our speakers, I need everyone to grab your imaginary hard hats. Put them on, put them on. Not everyone's doing it, everyone, hard hats. All right, looking good. Grab your imaginary flashlights, give them a click, make sure they work. Yours might need some batteries. Okay, now everyone repeat after me. I am ready to venture into the unknown. It's common that when we're faced with uncharted territory, we may respond irrationally. Our first talk will be given by a dynamic duo, Jennifer and Katie. They will share with us how to understand and manage our emotions. So please join me as we welcome them to the stage and they enlighten us and equip us on emotional intelligence.
Jennifer, why did you send out that proposal? I hadn't even reviewed it yet.
Are you serious, Katie? It had to go out. We were going to miss the deadline. Really?
We try not to behave like that when we work together. Truth is, many of us struggle to manage our reactions, especially when we experience strong emotions. Perhaps you've noticed that our society these days is a little tense, moody, sensitive, on edge. Sometimes navigating our own feelings or the feelings of others, it's like being in uncharted territory.
It is. And today, Katie and I are going to share with you 3 simple words that prevent us from going sideways with each other and wrecking our important connection. There's a proverb. It says, words build worlds. And that's because the meaning we each assign to words, it impacts our relationships. Now, humans, we also understand one another by inferring body language, energy, and tone. And that's why relationships, connection, collaboration, well, it can often feel like being in this mucky swamp.
This container represents relationships. And if you're human, you will interact daily, weekly with reactive emotions that can muddy the water between you and another. Now, Jennifer and I, we help people achieve clarity by coaching them to untangle their thinking and manage their behavior so that they can be terrific team players, make smart and strategic decisions, and become phenomenal leaders. Paramount to their success and our success is practicing something called emotional intelligence. Yet, what does that even mean?
Well, put simply, emotions, they are always at play. Feelings, they show up in our conversations and in our relationships, and we can choose to be attentive about how these emotions impact our perceptions of ourselves and others, and even about what's possible and not possible. We can choose to activate emotional intelligence to show up as cleaner communicators and collaborators.
So, how can we access our emotional intelligence so that we don't darken the water between us and others? Well, we want you to join the CIA. I mean, I know that you didn't think you were at a recruitment event, but we want you to become an investigator of emotions before you react. And applying a simple acronym can really help you improve your relationships. That acronym, you guessed it, it's CIA. And in this case, it stands for concrete, inflated, and assumptions. Think of applying CIA as an easy strategy to tap into your emotional intelligence in a world where snap reactions are ruining the day.
Well, let's start with C, which stands for concrete. When I'm in a reactive state or other people come in frustrated, angry, negative, or sad, I ask myself, is that feeling as heavy as concrete? Is that very real emotion happening to them or maybe to me? Things like anxiety, stress, trauma, sickness. And if the answer is yes, well, we work through that very real emotion as best we can. Such emotions are never deserving of blame or shame. In fact, they require great compassion and care.
If it's not a concrete emotion that needs empathy, then we're going to investigate for I, and that stands for inflated. Think about the past week that you just experienced. No doubt you had highs and lows because emotions come and they go. However, when we dwell on certain emotions, they inflate, just like this balloon. So when you find your feelings becoming stronger and stronger, acknowledge their presence, process them in a non-damaging way, and let them go. If you're with another who's experiencing inflated feelings, don't let them get carried away. Instead, help them get grounded by practicing curiosity and listening.
Okay, be honest. Has anyone ever told themselves a story that just isn't true? We all tell ourselves stories to make meaning of what's happening in the world around us. Our third letter, A, is to investigate for assumptions. So when you find yourself experiencing a really powerful emotion and you find yourself telling yourself a story, ask yourself, is this based on evidence or an assumption? For instance, maybe you're telling yourself a story that someone's angry with you or that you've disappointed someone. In those moments, you gotta interrupt that storytelling because those assumptions, well, they can cloud the water, they amplify drama, and they can cause great damage to important relationships.
If you're with another who's having these feelings, help them gain clarity by asking questions about what's assumed and what is real. Drop the storytelling.
Okay, now, had Katie and I actually applied CIA to that first conversation we demonstrated, we would have never tainted this water. So let's go back and explore where we went sideways.
If I had applied CIA, I would have discovered that I was so rude to Jennifer. I had inflated feelings, and I made assumptions about why you sent out that proposal. It wasn't about excluding me or my input. It was to meet our very real deadline. I own that, Jennifer.
Thanks, Katie. My response, wow, it was reactive and lacked all emotional intelligence. In fact, it met heat with heat. Katie, I could have very much managed my body language, energy, and my tone so differently, so I totally own that.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
So, when reactive emotions are strong and present, disrupt your immediate thinking with CIA, concrete, inflated, or assumptions.
Elevating emotional intelligence, it can help us all suffer less. So let's embrace investigating our day-to-day interactions, cleaning the water for greater communication and collaboration.
Give it a try. Your relationships will thank you.
Thank you.
Those 3 words can help us manage our emotions when faced with uncharted territory. I don't know about you guys, but I grew up a Marvel fan. Any Marvel fans in the audience? Okay, I'm not alone. All right, superheroes, awesome. There's always something intriguing about a villain emerging in this big city and then us calling on these guys and girls in costumes to save us, and it was completely realistic, right? But as I grew older and more Marvel movies came out, I realized that sometimes these superheroes are doing more harm than good. Sometimes their efforts are leading to destruction and casualties, but hey, we defeated Thanos, and that's good. Go Avengers, right? Oftentimes, what we need to save the world is different than what we expect. What if I told you that we could save the planet just by changing the food that we eat? Our next speaker, Mike Twining, has this whole idea of saving the planet from climate change in a unique way. So join me as we welcome him up.
Did you know that agriculture is one of the few industries that can scale globally in the next decade to meaningfully reduce climate change? It's a hot summer day. I'm walking in a field with my uncle. Chop, chop, walk some more, chop. We're hoeing large weeds out of a 40-acre soybean field by hand. It's hard work. But as a boy, I'm happy as a clam. You see, I grew up on a farm, and I fell in love with the land, plants, and growing things. Hard work was just a part of life. During those long days, we would talk about all kinds of things. This particular day, we were talking about growing soybeans, and I clearly had a few things wrong. After I finally quit talking, my uncle leans back and smile on his face and says, "Well, sounds like you thought like Roop." Puzzled, because I didn't understand he was framing up a figurative situation, I looked at him and I said, "Roop? Who's Roop? How did he think?" Now chuckling, my uncle says, "Well, Roop thought he had to fart, but he really had to poop." You know, it's easy sometimes to think that we have all the information, but still draw the wrong conclusion, like Roop. Fast forward 40 years, I still walk fields with farmers, helping them solve problems. For the last 3 decades, I've led a team of crop advisors, helping farmers manage the weather, and more recently, climate change on over 500,000 acres. It's not just hot in the fields anymore. It can be downright volatile and scary. I'm also a concerned father. I was gravely worried about the world my children are set to inherit. I'm blessed to have 2 adult children in their 20s. Their generation, Gen Z, is one of the most technologically engaged in the history of humanity. With regards to the climate, my generation and the ones before me are leaving them a real mess. Technology of many types is part of our daily existence. But one technology we don't often think about is the technology used to produce our food. Many competing opinions exist on things like food safety, health, organics. There's another factor we should consider, and that is, what is the impact of producing our food on the climate? You see, climate change is real, and the results we are and will experience are dire and scary. For the last 200 or so years, we have systematically pumped thousands of years of stored carbon out of the earth, putting it up into the atmosphere, creating a warming planet that is very close to a tipping point or a point of no return. It's no longer good enough just to talk about reducing emissions. We must somehow remove excess carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and put it back into the ground. How can we do that? Plants and their roots can put that carbon back into the ground. Agriculture, specifically what's called climate-smart agriculture, has existing technologies that can be used today on a global scale to meaningfully combat climate change. These technologies, when used as part of a climate-smart food production system, can both reduce emissions associated with producing our food while simultaneously removing excess greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere. And here's the exciting part. You, the consumer, can incentivize the development of these technologies with your food buying purchases. So how do we create a climate-smart food production system? Well, it starts with giving farmers the right tools and incentives. There are 3 areas that we as consumers are being consistently misled: organics, GMOs, and glyphosate herbicide. If we can reframe the conversation about just these 3 technologies, we could make significant progress in the next 5 years in encouraging the development of the very technologies farmers need to reverse climate change. Listen, I'm about to say some things that are going to run contrary to what you typically hear. I just ask, let's walk together and explore some ways we can encourage the development of these technologies while eating some yummy food. Let's start with organics. Many of you are being told the healthiest and safest food to eat is organically grown food. I'm not opposed to organics. I actually work with both organic and conventional farmers. And while we could debate about the relative benefits from a health standpoint of organic versus conventionally grown food, in the light of the climate crisis, that's like debating about who gets to sit in first class on a plane that's crashing to the ground. Organic has taught us how to work with nature. Unfortunately, mostly to control weeds, organic farming requires a lot of what's called tillage. That's where you turn the soil over, pulling a disc or a plow across the field with a tractor. In general, the yields per acre of organic agriculture are lower than conventional agriculture, which results in more expensive food and requires more land to grow the same amount of food. Enter regenerative agriculture. What is regenerative agriculture? Well, if an organic farm got married to a conventional farm and they had a baby, it would be called a regenerative farm. It uses technology to empower a more natural farming system, and it can be very climate friendly. So why is regenerative agriculture so important? Well, you see, the next 2 technologies I'm going to talk about in and of themselves don't necessarily help the environment unless they're used as part of a regenerative system. So what are those technologies? First up, GMOs, genetically modified and gene-edited crops. You may be saying, whoa, I've heard those are bad for you. That's understandable, given the way that GMOs are often presented negatively in the mainstream and social media. The facts are that in 51 years of developing and growing genetically modified crops, there have been no significant links to any human health issues. So why do I have GMOs as the second key to saving the planet? Well, it's important that you first understand plants breathe in carbon dioxide, a potent greenhouse gas. There's exciting work being done by groups like the Salk Institute, who are using genetic modification of plants to turn ordinary plants into super carbon dioxide sucking machines. These plants grow deeper roots that take that carbon that they breathe out of the air and they put it deep in the soil where it can be safely stored for long periods of time. That has the effect of embedding that climate benefit in all the downstream food that you and I eat from crops grown. Do you realize that in the United States, if we took just the basic crops of corn, soybeans, wheat, and rice, and we put the trait the Salk Institute is developing in it, it would overnight put over 300 million acres to work, removing excess carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and storing it safely in the ground. That would embed all the climate benefits of that in the downstream food that you and I eat. That pizza and wings that we love, saving the climate never tasted so good. But we're being misled about the safety of that technology. That non-GMO label you see in the store, when you buy your food based on that label, it is disincentivizing the development of one of the very technologies that can save the planet. Next technology, glyphosate. Now that's a scary word. Glyphosate's been around for a long time. It was developed in the 1970s. Why do I have glyphosate with GMOs and regenerative agriculture as the final key to saving the planet? Glyphosate can help farmers avoid tillage. Why is that important? Because every time we till the ground to control weeds, it's like pouring gas on a fire, releasing that stored carbon that we've worked so hard to put into the soil back into the atmosphere. When climate-smart farmers use glyphosate herbicide at key times during the growing season, instead of tillage to control weeds, they can leave the soil undisturbed year-round, keeping that carbon safely stored in the soil. Over time, that soil becomes healthier, more drought-tolerant, less likely to erode and run off into our water supply. And get this, that carbon is like a plant food buffet for our crops, enabling us to produce more food on the same land over time as our population grows, so we don't have to put more sensitive lands into production just to feed people. Hopefully, I've given you some new things to think about with regards to your food buying purchases. The next time you're at your favorite grocery store or restaurant, let's put on a fresh set of eyes and ask ourselves, are we being scared or manipulated by labeling? Think differently. When we stop buying food labeled in a way to evoke fear, we're telling our food system we want our farmers to have all the tools and technologies they need to save the planet. Choose facts, not fear. It will change things. Join me, and let's go eat our way to a cleaner planet. Thank you.
Who would have known that our food choices affects the technology that contributes to climate change? Crazy. Thank you, Mike. As we continue our journey with uncharted territory, let's reflect on some characteristics of it, shall we? Uncharted territory is often scary. It's uncomfortable and may even feel lonely. But what if I told you that a characteristic of this territory can actually be hope? What if when you're exploring this new land, you actually see yourself as better on the other side? Our next speaker is K.L. Wells, and she's experienced multiple relationships that had to do with addiction. She's up next to share with us her story and how families can actually thrive during the uncharted territory of addiction and chaos. Let's welcome her to the stage.
August 28th, 2018. It's a Tuesday, and I'm walking into a corporate meeting with the executive team of a fast-growing company that I love working with. I can feel that the air is somber, and I'm quickly escorted back to the conference room where the VP for operations tells me that the CEO's son had passed away from a drug overdose several days earlier. I take a breath, because the fear in the executive's eyes that day was like looking at myself in a mirror. What they didn't know was that the day that the CEO's son passed away from a drug overdose, I stood on a sidewalk in Washington State and witnessed the arrest of my 27-year-old son, Sam, at gunpoint, while he was in a drug-induced psychotic episode. My heart broke that day. And as I gave the woman police officer as much information as I possibly could, Sam and my eyes locked, and he screamed at me to save him. I do in fact believe that that arrest did save his life. And I prayed that jail would be the turning point for him if he ever came out of his psychosis. Every dream I held for him, continuing to own his own home, marrying his girlfriend, continuing a successful career in fire service, it all shattered that day. My heart was broken, and I would never be the same. Everything changed in that moment. And I was literally catapulted into uncharted territory. The days that followed, the years that followed, were filled with rehabs and relapses, a year-long drug court program that ended in a relapse, countless requests for money at all hours of the day and night, a beating, rivers of tears, and on and on. The chaos of addiction goes. I grappled with numerous arguments with my spouse, feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, sleepless nights of endless worry, and the ever-present possibility of getting the phone call that, in fact, he was gone, and that addiction had won. I want you each to take a moment right now and look to the right of you or the left of you. Look into the person's eyes that you're sitting next to, because in fact, one of you loves someone who is addicted. If you think you're alone, you are not. According to Pew Research, almost 50% of American families love someone who is addicted. With those kinds of statistics, we are all in uncharted territory. And most of us are ill-prepared to navigate the destruction of this disease. According to NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, more than 37 million Americans deal with addiction, impacting over 150 loved ones, 50 million loved ones. And we've lost over 1 million to drug overdoses. Trauma is the hungry ghost that lies beneath the surface of addiction. According to the National Institutes of Health, 70% of the female and 56% of the male drug users were sexually abused as children. NIH also reports that it takes 5 to 6 rehabs before recovery takes hold. Sam took 12. And astonishingly, the Health Policy Institute reports that we spend $532 billion a year on addiction and recovery, and the vast majority of those funds go for the addict alone, almost completely neglecting the families and friends. It is time for each of us to ask for help and to learn to thrive in the midst of this disease. It's time to skill up. And so, how do we do it? Oh, thriving. Why did I want to learn to thrive? Because I made a decision and I set an intention. That in fact, if Sam popped out the other side of his addiction, I wanted him to find a thriving mama who had learned to prioritize her own well-being. And I absolutely refused to give his addiction the power to destroy the other parts of my life. Okay, so I wanted to thrive in the midst of this. I didn't want to just survive, and I want that for each one of you too. So how do we do it? I started that Saturday night by literally dropping to my knees up in the hotel room, and I sobbed until I had no more tears. I let my spouse take care of me. I ate, I slept on the car ride home to Oregon the next day, and then I got on the phone with one of my close friends in Washington and I asked for help. And I asked Diane, in her vast network, who did she know that could help me learn to navigate the jail system, which was completely unknown to me. And she gave me Grace's name, First Lifeline. And Grace gave me Kristen's name, Second Lifeline. And before I knew it, I was building a network of support that would help me get through and keep track of Sam in terms of where his psychosis was. And then I started reading as many things as I could get a hold of and watching videos, skilling up, learning. Dope Sick by Beth Macy, the book and the series, was life-changing for me. Dr. Kevin McCauley did a video called Pleasure Unwoven, a personal journey about addiction that was also life-changing. I began gathering puzzle pieces of information and understanding this disease and my own journey in this. And so the next puzzle piece that was revelatory to me was I learned that addiction takes the first position of survival in an addict's brain. So imagine if your brain tells you that you need fentanyl in order to survive. What do you think you're going to do? You're going to spend your entire day getting fentanyl because you need it every hour, hour and 15 minutes. It completely hijacks your life. Next puzzle piece. I got a hold of a friend of mine who's been 30 plus years in recovery from meth addiction, and I asked her, how do I support Sam in the midst of his journey? What she said to me was so amazing. She said, when he comes to you for money, it has nothing to do with your relationship. It is simply a transaction for him. If you don't give him money, it is swipe left and he moves on. I had no idea. At this point in the journey for me, I was so desperate to do something for him, that mama code, that when I hit Cash App Send, I felt better. It didn't help him. That was about me. So I had to wrestle with this and get on the other side of it because I refused to be the last $10 that he ever got. Next puzzle piece. Almost everybody that I've talked to that's in recovery has told me, you can't fix him, you can't save him, you can't control him. Holy crap. This was on his terms. This was his journey. However, I could love him with boundaries, and I made that abundantly clear on so many occasions. Next big puzzle piece. Self-care became paramount. Because no matter how much I worried about him, it had absolutely zero effect on his journey. But it had a super destructive effect on mine. And so I committed to consistently working out 4 to 5 times a week, a day, a week. I created a practice of gratitude. I ate healthy. I drank water. I surrounded myself with communities of people that have loved me and supported me through this whole journey. And quite frankly, I would never be here today if it wasn't for them. I had an amazing spouse, the bonus parent. I watched hilarious movies. I read inspiring books. I backpacked and I hiked every summer. I got out in nature, no matter what was happening with Sam. And that regimen of self-care allowed me to lean into the question, what are the gifts and lessons and opportunities embedded in this experience for me? And to actually embrace the mantra, I'm willing to release the need to worry. And I was. And slowly but surely, over the last 6 years, clarity and compassion have emerged. The puzzle pieces have begun to fall into place. And I was able to grapple with some of the deepest questions for me, which was, how could I truly love him deeply and myself while witnessing this torturous journey? Was it even possible to love him with boundaries? The answers emerged. Yes, I could. Yes, I can. Yes, I will. Yes, I am. And so what was once completely unknown and uncharted territory for me became visible. The puzzle pieces fell into place. I had my power back. I had skilled up. Sam and my journey continues to this day. He is now a little bit more than 11 months clean and sober. And I am and I am the thriving mama he popped out to on the other side of his addiction. I ask each one of you today to skill up, to learn to thrive in the midst of the chaos of this disease, to step from uncharted territory into charted territory. Because in fact, you will discover yourself. I recall a poignant conversation with the former CEO that I worked with. And he asked his son how could he support him in his recovery. And Scott said, "Dad, do your work. Dad, do your work." And so I ask each one of you to heed that call, to do your work, to skill up, to learn to thrive. I imagine a world in which there are millions of us thriving. Imagine what that world would sound like, feel like, and be like if millions of us had learned to thrive and were there on the other side when our addicts popped out into recovery. That would be an extraordinary experience for them. Now is the time. Now is our time. Now is your time. Thrive with me. Thank you.
Thank you, KL, for encouraging us that we can thrive in the midst of chaos. Oftentimes, it's hard to recognize that we're thriving when our eyes are fixed on the wrong thing. For example, in high school, I was fortunate enough to play varsity soccer, track, and basketball. Anybody in here play sports? No, maybe, I don't know, it's kind of quiet. Yeah, so for any former athletes in the audience, you know that the biggest battle that you face is not on the field, track, or court, but it's actually in your mind, especially when it comes to comparison. Athletes may compare themselves to their teammates or people on opposing teams. One of you guys might be comparing yourself to a coworker who got a raise and you didn't, or a classmate or another senior who may seem like they have their whole life together and you don't. Whatever the situation is, we must realize that comparison is a thief of joy. Our next speaker is Harrison Bowe, and he had the same internal battle of comparison, but in a different field, the field of music. So let's prepare for what he has to say and for what he has to sing to us.
I have always loved music. It's been a part of who I am since I was born, and I've spent the last 2.5 years seriously pursuing it as a career. During that time, I dealt with significant issues regarding my self-worth and identity, and I've learned firsthand just how dangerous it can be when you let your accomplishments define you. But I've also learned some ways to combat those feelings and emotions from a little bit of an unlikely source, and so today I would like to tell you a little bit about my music and also about one of my all-time favorite games. My music has been released to many different streaming platforms, and one of the features that Spotify offers its artists is an app very accurately named Spotify for Artists. And on this app, you can see how many people are actively listening, how many people in Sweden streamed a certain song last month, or my personal favorite, the names of the playlists that my music gets added to. But there is one number that I check every single day without fail, and that is monthly listeners. And monthly listeners are the total number of unique individual listeners that I've had in the last 28 days. And you might be wondering, Harrison, what makes that number more special than how many people in Sweden have streamed a certain song last month? It's because I can see every other artist's monthly listeners. And so every day at 11 o'clock, those numbers update. I'll go to Spotify for Artists, and I'll see how I did the previous day. Then I'll head over to Spotify, go through my recently searched artists, check in on about a dozen of my friends and artists that I look up to, and just see how their music is doing. I'm an extremely competitive person. I've had a lot of screaming matches over games of Settlers of Catan throughout the years, and music is no different. I often tell my wife, I've been checking in on some of my friends. I've been checking in on some artists that I love and just seeing how their music is doing. And she'll say to me, so you've been comparing yourself to others and letting it steal your joy? And I say, yeah, pretty much. And typically the conversation ends right there. We'll come back to all that in a second. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee from Hickman, Nebraska in August of 2021. And about 8 months before that, I was in an a cappella group, and a friend in that a cappella group introduced me to the game of chess, which I do believe is the nerdiest sentence that's ever been said on a TEDx stage, which I wear like a badge of honor. I fell in love with chess very, very quickly. It is a perfect combination of strategy and imagination. And in chess, you have what's called an ELO rating. And ELO is the system used by the International Chess Federation to rank professional players. It's also used by websites like chess.com to rank amateur players who are just playing online for fun. In rapid chess, which is one of, if not the most popular formats on chess.com, I have a peak rating of 1876, which would put me, yeah, some chess fans out there, which would put me in the 99.4 percentile for players on that website. It's not important for you to know this, I just really like telling people. I've worked hard practicing puzzles and tactics, watching YouTube videos over the last couple years, and I've watched my ELO continue to get higher and higher. But eventually, I hit a plateau, and I thought to myself, not a problem, this has happened before. I'll just keep working. I'm going to get better, and I'm going to break through this. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't. And in fact, instead of getting better, I started getting worse. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to keep my elo as high as it could possibly be. And losing became incredibly discouraging, and winning was rarely satisfying because I felt like I already should have been playing at a much higher level. And slowly but surely, I started to suck all the joy out of something that used to bring me a lot of happiness. And unfortunately, the same thing happened to me with music. Music became my entire identity, and I compared myself to others constantly. I had roommates who were taking meetings with major labels and management. I had friends who were getting millions of streams on their music. And all the while, I was becoming increasingly more embarrassed of my own because I felt like I was never going to be able to write like Noah Kahan or Ed Sheeran. I was never going to be a good enough singer to build music into a career. And I felt like I was making a fool of myself by posting videos to the internet. But then one day it finally happened. I posted an original song, a clip of an original song to TikTok, and it blew up. It got over 1 million views. And I was so happy because I could finally look at my friends and my roommates around me and I could say, see, I can do it too. I'm just as smart as you. I'm just as creative as you. I'm just as good as you are. And I was so proud of myself for 1 week. Because a week later, my roommate posted a video that got 12 million views. And suddenly, I did not care about my video very much. He was getting comments from artists that I loved and looked up to, and even though I was happy for him because he is an incredible musician and an even better person, at the time, I was so jealous. And not only was I jealous, I was embarrassed because I couldn't believe that for a second I thought maybe, just maybe, I was just as good as he was. When you're stepping in to uncharted territory, it can feel easy, at least for me, to feel the need to prove myself to others in my proximity. I need them to know that I'm there for a reason. I need to convince them that I belong there. But I've learned more often than not, it's not for them, it's for me. I need to know that I'm good enough. I need to know that I belong there. And when I was in Nashville, surrounded by people I really wanted approval from, I thought to myself, man, if I could just get my monthly listeners up to 10,000 a month, then I'll have as much as that person, and they will know that I'm just as good as they are. I'm just as smart, I'm just as creative, I'm just as talented. And you know what? I did it. 10,000 came and went, I barely even noticed. Because I had another friend who had 20,000. And I thought to myself, man, if I could just get to 20,000, that person will know that I'm smart, that I'm creative, and I'm just as good as they are. And I did it again. 20,000 came and went, and then 30,000, and then 40,000. And you know what? That number in Spotify for artists was never high enough. There was always somebody out there that in my head, I knew I was never going to be as talented as, I was never going to be as smart or as creative as they were. And so I would often retreat to something I felt like I was actually good at, and I kept playing chess. And I would win some games, but again, more often than not, I started to lose more and more, and my elo kept falling. And still I kept playing. I kept watching videos, recapping tournaments, and discussing the recent drama in the chess world, which does exist. I promise that's a real thing. I still loved chess, but I hated playing. And then one day I figured it out. I figured out why I wanted to play a game that was making me so miserable at the time. It's because chess is awesome. Chess is an amazing game. The only issue was me and the pressure that I put on myself to keep a number high that didn't offer any kind of value or any kind of identity. And I discovered the more I played simply because I wanted to be a part of a beautiful game, my experience was completely different. I still wanted to play well, I still wanted to improve, but the outcome no longer dictated my mood for the entire week. And so I wasn't enjoying chess, I wasn't enjoying music. I had started enjoying chess a little bit again, and so I tried to bring this over into music. And again, I found the more I reminded myself of why I loved music in the first place, the less that number on Spotify for artists dictated my mood for the entire week. Because I never got into music because I thought others would like me. I never got into music because I thought I was incredible at it, or because I thought I was the best writer. I just loved music. I just loved creating and having a way to express myself. I also discovered that even when I didn't like playing chess, I still loved being a part of the community. And so when I was in Nashville, I started trying to invite others into collaboration more and more. And then, in turn, they would invite me into collaboration. And I found that the jealousy I felt when I isolated myself from those same artists or producers was rarely there when we were in a room together. Because we were all there for the same reason. We were all there to make music. We were all there to be passionate about something together, and that is such a privilege. And I want to be very clear, I'm not saying that you shouldn't strive to be better, or you shouldn't even strive to be the best, because we absolutely should. I'm saying that learning how to define your success is key, and the success of others cannot dictate your own. Because at the end of the day, at the end of all of this, your accomplishments do not define you. In the same way that my monthly listeners do not define me. This is something that I still struggle with to this day. But chess has taught me to appreciate music, not because of how well I can write lyrics or how well I can sing, but simply because music is worth creating. And in that same way, whatever it is you're passionate about is worth doing because you're passionate about it, no matter how well or how poorly you may do that thing. Chess is worth playing no matter your ELO rating. It's worth playing when you lose, and when you lose, and when you lose again, because the point of chess is not to win. The point of chess is to play, and to play with others and to experience a beautiful game together. And so I want to encourage all of you, wherever your next uncharted territory might be, that you would choose to go there and simply wake up every day and just play. I would like to play you the song that I posted to TikTok that had a little tiny viral moment. I wrote this song after asking my older brother to be the best man at my wedding. And I was just feeling a lot of different emotions at the time, and I was just looking for a way to express those feelings. I wasn't trying to write a song I thought people would love. I just wanted to create. And this is what came out of that. My friends are all about to graduate. I majored in making mistakes and wishing I was someone else who didn't always need some help. I'm sober till I'm getting drunk, 'cause I'm still scared of growing up and being who I am right now. Forever, I hope I find out real soon what I should do and who I should be. It's still out of reach, and my brother's always gonna be 6 years wiser. I keep on getting older, and the bar keeps getting higher. My exes and friends all just seem so successful. I'm not sure 6 years will be enough. And I saw him Drew walk over, and he said to Jesus, I'm not sure even you could pick up those pieces. Everyone's so impressive, and counseling's expensive, so I'm not sure 6 years will be enough to catch up. I was always just a little much, always never quite enough, so she's trading in my lesser traits for California license plates. I'll fall in love with you again, not who you are, but who you've been, 'cause now it's like you don't exist, just memories of one more thing I can't fix. I just don't know how, and if you didn't like me then, there's no way you love me now. And my brother's always gonna be 6 years wiser. I keep on getting older, and the bar keeps getting higher. years will be enough to catch up. Yeah, I'll be 6 years wiser. 6 years wiser, and it still won't be enough. 'Cause my brother's always gonna be 6 years wiser. I keep on getting older, and the bar keeps getting higher. My exes and friends all just seem so successful. So I'm not sure 6 years will be enough to catch up.
Wow, doesn't Harrison have an amazing gift, right? Right, so good. But this is not where the talent ends tonight. We will take a brief break now for intermission before continuing on with our final 4 speakers. So during this time, feel free to stretch your legs. You've probably been sitting for a while. Don't want to hear them crack when we're done with this. You can take some photos out in the lobby and enjoy some snacks as well. TEDx Grand Canyon University would also like to recognize Frame the Ink again, and intermission is the perfect time to look at their beautiful art. We will come back in about 20 minutes. We'll see you then.
First of all, just a couple of things before we jump to announcements. First, I think most of you guys...
My name is Abby. I am a business management major. I've been a part of TED this is my 3rd year now. I started on the speaker acquisition team and then was vice president of operations and development last year and president this year. I loved it when I first started. I was on the speaker acquisition team, and so getting to find the speakers was such a cool experience of emailing people and just trying to get people to come to the event. That feeling's so great to be able to come to the end of the year and you're like, wow, I just did 8 months of work for this one event and now it's done, and it was so awesome. It's just such a high that I was I have to keep doing this year after year.
It is such a good experience to be a part of TEDx GCU. It can be a little intimidating at first, especially if you don't know everything that it's about, but it really is such a good community of people that are working towards one goal, so it's super fun to be a part of. So the marketing team is in charge of overseeing all things marketing, so basically our big goal is to promote the TEDx event at the end of the year. Our big things are social media, so running the Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook pages, as well as email marketing. Currently our deadline right now is sending out main event tickets emails, so pushing out hundreds and hundreds of emails to Phoenix locals and businesses promoting that our ticket release just happened last week.
So dark, milk, white are staples. You have to get those.
Yes, and then you get the
allergen.
Yep.
And then we have milk chocolate caramel.
My name is River Murray, and I'm one of the directors of operations. Operations specifically, we're looking a lot of the logistics. We have several meetings a week focused specifically on what kind of run of show looks like and what we can do to really bring value to all the different aspects of the event. Think about when you go to events, it's those little things. You're like, oh my goodness, they had that on the table, or I remember that chocolate, or that mint was so good. It's just these little things, and we're trying to focus in on those and really leverage those to make a memorable experience.
This might be a repeat, but we really want you guys to just feel confident going into this event and just really want to make the most of it. So this is kind of just a little overview again.
Catalyst is our public speaking workshop intensive designed specifically for high school students in the greater Phoenix area. And we work very closely with K-12 development here at GCU to kind of leverage Catalyst as a platform to really bring in those students who may not have access or even the kind of boldness to really engage in public speaking in their school environment.
To start this off, can I have everyone close their eyes? Now imagine a world without them. Isn't it peaceful?
And this happens to everyone with their speaker at this point. Speakers will read their draft and be like, oh, it can be better, it's changed, I want something different, it's not feeling right. At this point, it's too late to go back. So just let them know, okay, it's kind of too late for that, kindly.
Yeah. It was funny because he read over the document where we had the notes, and it was he had said spill the tea, and a comment was maybe reword this. He's like, yeah, you guys are right. So I thought it was good.
The speaker acquisition team is a team of students that recruits speakers from across the country to come and give the actual TEDx talks. So our team is the one that looks at all of the applications that come in throughout the year and decides between those speakers who has the potential or the research, the ability to make a good TEDx speaker in the future.
My name is Calvin Cunningham. I am the Vice President of Content Creation. I'm excited to see the designs. I really am. I think they can bring together the event so well, and it's just cool. And Madison's just a great designer, and the direction she goes, you just recognize oh, she's got cool designs.
Oh my God. That is so cool.
Oh my goodness! You got 3 of them printed. This is the big one. I don't know if you can tell. If I could go back when I was kind of thinking about TED, I would just say just do it, because it has been the most fulfilling thing that I've done in college. And I feel like we're just looking for people that are just want to have free time that they want to give to a project and be able to go to the end of the year and say this is something that I created.
Being on the TEDx team has just been such an amazing opportunity. The team's been incredible. It's been such a fun experience getting to work with everybody. Highly, highly, highly recommend doing it. It's been an amazing experience.
That video was only a snippet of all the hard work that goes behind putting on this event. Here at TEDx, you're introduced with individuals that are not shy or reluctant to do the hard work and to get into the nitty-gritty. Behind every talk is hours of research, planning, Zooms, rehearsing, all to present the world with the next great, fresh idea. But what if this can be done faster? If it wasn't evident, the world is evolving, progress is accelerated, and we are more efficient. But what if we can be successful faster? I don't know about you, but if I could do it in 5 seconds, I would want to be successful just like that. Up next is my friend Nate St. John, and he has this whole thing figured out. So if you are looking to fast-track your life of success, buckle your seatbelts, because he's up next to share with us how to hack our success. Let's clap for him.
"24 hours. Whether you're a newborn or coasting into retirement, you get 24 hours in a day. No more, no less. Yet the older we get, time seems to go faster, and the days become unmanageably shorter. It's more difficult to accomplish tasks, more stressful to keep commitments, and don't even think about trying to pick up a new skill. This reality hit home for me a few years ago. Each day would go by in a blur, and it would be rare to make any meaningful progress in my life. 2 years ago, that all changed, and I'm here to show you how. I stand before you with an unconventional idea that has given me more time, more energy, and more mental capacity. The hack to my success is, you guys ready for this? I sleep with the lights on every single night. The human brain, that intricate web of neurons and synapses, doesn't rest when we sleep. It continues its complex dance, processing information, consolidating memories, and concocting dreams. Exposure to light during sleep can enhance these cognitive processes, leading to heightened creativity and improved problem-solving skills. Studies show that the deepest and most beneficial sleep comes in the rapid eye movement, or REM cycles. What has been discovered, exposure to light during sleep, what has been discovered is that when the sleeping brain is exposed to light through the veiled capillaries in our eyelids, it stimulates blood flow into the brain, allowing for increases in dopamine and oxytocin, as well as improved synaptic networking and neural linkages. When I first heard this, I couldn't believe it either. I was unsure, and I had to put it to the test. My plan was simple: sleep with the lights on for 1 week and see how I feel. Immediately in the days to follow, I could see the positive effects. I felt fresh, had energy all day, and was significantly more focused. What started as a 1-week experiment has now transformed into a nightly routine to keep the lights on when I go to bed. The following information is in no way to brag, but to further show you the transformative effects this sleep hack can have. In the last year, I've secured 2 prestigious internships, started a company, am studying for a life-changing exam, and am giving a TEDx talk, all while having time to do the things I love with my friends. Sleeping with the lights on has played an extremely influential role in my recent success, and that is why I wanted to share it with all of you. You may be wondering, Nate, how have I not heard of this before? Why is modern science hiding this life-changing hack from society? What makes sleeping with the lights on such a global secret? I believe the answer is very simple. It's because it's not real. It's fake. I made up the entire thing, don't worry. I bet many of you thought I was lying right from the beginning. This guy over here was rolling his eyes from the start. As you should. Sleeping with the lights on is an insane idea. And to be honest, I don't even know what oxytocin means. Upon further dissection of the diagram, you will notice the reference is written by Falsman and Reagan N., who is literally just my friend Noah, who made this diagram in about 10 minutes. However, sleeping with the lights on is not too far off from other outlandish hacks to success and get-rich-quick schemes that we have been taught, that I have been taught. I mean, we genuinely think we can get a six-pack in a week, or eating a few salads will make us healthy. We believe reading one self-help book or taking a few cold showers will catapult us to success. Everybody seeks the maximum amount of achievement with the minimum amount of effort. A real study that I didn't make up was conducted of the salary expectations of 10,000 college students. On average, these students expected to make $105,000 in their first year at a job. The issue here, as you can see, is the average salary for a post-grad student is $55,000. That is $50,000 off. And yet, if we conducted the same study with tonight's audience, I would bet on a shockingly similar result. It's so easy to picture ourselves in the Ferrari, in the nice house, right out of college. And I find myself in that mindset often. Unfortunately, our expectation of what we deserve is light years from the reality that we work for. When we look at the lives of those who have truly left an impact on history, we don't find overnight success. What we do find is passion, dedication, and a commitment to a vision. I could talk to you about how Rome wasn't built in a day, or how Thomas Edison didn't use a shortcut when inventing the light bulb. One example, however, stands above the rest. An ancient tale of a warrior born from nothing who perfected his craft to save the world. Every martial arts master aspires to become the dragon warrior. Poe becomes the dragon warrior and can open the dragon scroll, which will unlock all the secrets of Kung Fu. And yet, when Poe opens the dragon scroll, there's nothing. There's no secret. There is no great secret in life. No secret ingredient, no secret sauce. Yeah, of course, you could hit it big on a crypto or win the lottery. Some people will get lucky and catch a break in their lives, but hoping that you will be the lucky one is a twisted and incorrect recipe of success. The success you are seeking will not come easily. It may be disappointing to hear, but success won't hit you in the face. As a kid, you didn't automatically know how to ride a bike or tie a water balloon without being taught over and over. Those middle school band concerts were full of squawking instruments and random clanging cymbals for the first few months. Why do you think you had to spend so many hours driving with your parents before you got your license? Back then, we understood and came to terms that the things in life did not come easily or immediately. So why should it be any different now? A quote by Alex Hormozy states, "A mediocre plan done for a decade beats a perfect plan done for a day." Success will be given to the person who takes it, not the person who waits for it to be handed to them. So no, Poe did not become the dragon warrior because he gained the secrets of the dragon scroll. It was through his consistent and never-ending training that he achieved success. Same goes for you. If you are sitting there still hoping to figure out how to hack your life, go try sleeping with the lights on. I wish you well. Go watch The Millionaire's Perfect Morning Routine or start a dropshipping company in 5 minutes. But that's not what any of us want. As we move into the next phases of our lives, in the uncharted territory of your future, you don't want success to come easily. You want to earn what you accomplish. You want to have a life full of meaning and fulfillment. And that is possible. But it must start with understanding that the long way is okay. That adversity is not to be feared, but to be expected and welcomed. It's the challenges we face, the obstacles we overcome, that change us into the people we want to be, the person you want to be. There's only one question that remains. Are you willing to keep waiting for your lottery moment? Stop trying to hack your success. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I was definitely thinking about sleeping with the lights on next week. I'm so glad I listened to the full talk. Thanks, Nate. Love you so much. But as we continue our journey tonight, I want everyone to take a second and close your eyes. I'm not going to trick you, I promise. Nothing's going to happen to you. So with your eyes closed, I want you to picture the place where you feel most comfortable being yourself. Maybe with your eyes closed, this is a place where you're hanging out with your friends. Maybe it's when you're with your family, in the comfort of your room, not sleeping with the lights on. Does everyone have your place? Head nods? Swag, awesome. Everyone open your eyes. By show of hands, did anyone picture the place where they work at as the most comfortable place? Oh, we got a few hands. Good for you guys. I was not prepared for that. That's awesome. But for most of us, that sounds completely outlandish. You might be thinking, Crystal, me, fully comfortable, vulnerable, being myself at work. Not gonna happen. But it can happen. Our next speaker is Tracy Mergler, and she discovered this uncharted territory of conversations of mental health in the workplace, and how without it, she wasn't able to be fully comfortable. So to address this uncharted territory, let's welcome up Tracy.
Three years ago, while training to be an eating disorder recovery coach, I was introduced to a story called The Canary in the Coal Mine. This story talked about how long ago they used to introduce canaries into uncharted territories, such as coal mines, before they would allow the workers to enter. If the canaries returned, they knew that the environment was safe. If the canaries did not, they knew that the air was too toxic for human inhalation. After hearing this story, something clicked in me. It's me. I'm a canary. Not only could I see how this described why my eating disorder had lasted for over 20 years, but also how it closely mirrored what we are seeing in corporations as we speak. Employees are leaving certain fields in masses. There is an increase in sick and personal days. Retention is at an all-time low. And there is this collective isolation occurring with the addition of remote work opportunities. Corporations have become coal mines, and our employees, the canaries, are simply choosing to leave the premises or not return. Creating safe and supportive community and corporate spaces is not only essential for the future success of your company, but also for the future viability of our society. In 2017, I was working as an early childhood special education teacher and also living a double life. One life looked like a young wife and mother who had traveled the world, lived internationally, had 2 degrees, came from a wonderful family, and even had the 2 bulldogs to complete that picture. The other life looked like a horrendous eating disorder cycle of binging, purging, restriction, and exercise that left my head in the toilet multiple times a day only to reapply my lipstick and get to third period by the time the bell rang. I was sitting crisscross applesauce and teaching letter sounds, and popping laxatives and diet pills during breaks. There was not one day from the age of 12 on that I was not living this double life, and no one knew the extreme. The shame engulfed me, but what was even worse than the shame was the loneliness. Not one administrator knew of my actions, not one coworker asked me what I was doing or if I was okay, yet I'm sure they knew. What was missing from any school, community, or corporation that I had worked in was a space to feel safe, vulnerable, and honest. I was struggling, and it was clearly impacting my performance. Yet there was no time or space to be authentic with my coworkers about what was really going on. I had only experienced that type of safety in one type of community, a treatment center. I would visit 6 different treatment centers in a 10-year span, and believe me when I tell you the level of fear that engulfed me in those places. They asked me continuously to face the monsters in my closet while they took away the one coping strategy that had ever made me feel safe. Yet those spaces also provided this level of safety that I had never felt before, in my mind and in my body. See, in treatment, they got it. I didn't get the look of disgust or questioning. I got heartfelt glances and head nods. And they sat down right next to me as I moved through all of my pain, my grief, my sadness, and they didn't leave. They didn't try and fix it or shut it down. They held my vulnerability like it was a gift, rather than something to be afraid of. I felt seen. I felt heard. I felt validated. Brené Brown says that vulnerability is the most accurate measurement of courage. It is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Yet I was forced into that level of vulnerability with my peers because it was life or death. So I knew that creating that type of connection in a corporation or a community was not going to be easy. These places are filled with red tape and very limited in their ability to meet the moment. We are meant to conform. There is no space to talk about an ailing parent or the death of a pet or a child that is self-harming. There is no time for authenticity or deeper connection. Yet that is exactly what I needed in order to not stay stuck in this cycle. So I decided to create a space that did not exist outside of treatment facilities and make it okay to say, I'm not okay. COVID took mental health and put it at the forefront of our society. We could no longer deny what was happening right in front of our faces. In the first year of COVID alone, overdoses rose by 30%. Depression and anxiety by 25. The use of prescription medication, counseling services, and the unmet needs for mental health services also rose significantly. Companies and organizations can no longer turn a blind eye to what is happening to their employees. They must become safe spaces. We must make inclusive and supportive community spaces that do not ask employees to pack up their personal pain from the hours of 9 to 5, only to see them use maladaptive coping strategies and disruptive behaviors as soon as they leave the office space. Or let's be really honest, while they're in the office space. We must rewrite the way we address it, the way we talk about it, the way we paint the truth around mental health. I consider mental health in the workplace to be uncharted territory because up to this point we have addressed it in one way only. We don't talk about it. Yet mental health is a spectrum that we move up and down on throughout our lives. The current ads out there say that 1 out of 5 people experience mental illness. Yet in actuality, 5 out of 5 people experience mental health. It is not us versus them, it is we. And when we do not address and manage our mental health, it becomes mental illness. Last year, the Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, released a statement highlighting the dangers of loneliness. He said the mortality impact of being socially disconnected is similar to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, proving that if we do not start to make some drastic changes in our workplace environment, we will continue to see productivity and retention fall in isolation and insurance costs rise. We will spend more time and money on training new employees only to lose them months later. We will continue to see a rise in suicides, self-harm, addictions, and burnout because people need outlets. And when we do not give them tools and a safe space and community, those outlets become quick fixes to feeling better and escaping pain. The risk of inaction will cost us in more ways than one, in terms of dollars and lives. So we start implementing this belonging by getting to know our people first. Who are they? We ask the hard questions and we wait patiently until we get the honest answers. But we also have to allow them to dip their toe into this type of community, and we do that in 2 ways. We need leadership in companies and corporations that are willing to get vulnerable and share some of their own story, because leadership is vulnerable. To believe that the people you employ and lead will trust and humbly follow you towards a shared goal or vision requires demonstrating and empowering vulnerability. The second way we allow this dipping of the toe is that we make services easily accessible, inclusive to all, and through a company-wide approach. We slow down the workday and make room for authentic connections. We introduce tools and a common language, and we give employees incentives to use them. We encourage getting outside and spending 15 minutes in a quiet space meditating. We hire facilitators to come in and to run connection circles. We introduce tools such as breathwork and journaling, and we offer online options for employees that want to remain anonymous. And we start to peel back the layers of our employees to let their authenticity shine. We see the whole person and not just what they produce. And when we start to create these small spaces for vulnerability throughout the day, we create a culture that allows trust and safety to grow, and it ultimately leads to a more dedicated and loyal employee. Prior to March of 2020, the workplace was seen as just that, a place to work. It is where we are seen for our biggest successes, and because of that, it's one of the hardest places to be seen for our fears and our current struggles. Yet post-pandemic, I'm asking you to do exactly that. Because as a community and as a society, we need more connection, more authenticity, more love for one another, more vulnerability. Vulnerability creates room for intimacy, intimacy for connection for trust, trust for safety, and safety for love. Just by planting a seed for vulnerability, we have the ability to change the world. And you alone have the ability to change your company as well as your community. Because let's be honest, we are all canaries living in a coal mine trying to breathe. And the only way to change that is to start talking about it in the workplace. Thank you.
So as Tracy explained, taking the brave step of vulnerability will spark amazing changes in our lives. As I mentioned earlier, this year I went on a sports-based mission trip to Italy. It was awesome, but it was unique in that I got to share the gospel and serve athletes. One experience that I had to teach adults and children with autism how to play a sport. This went beyond any experience I've ever had in my life. I had to change the techniques and perspectives that I had in order to create workouts and drills and even communicate because, let's not forget, I don't know any Italian. So I can only speak to the realm of neurodiversity and people with autism in regard to sport. But our next speaker is super interesting because he can speak about neurodiversity in STEM. So if you are intrigued like I am, let's welcome up Kenneth Mims.
I am neurodivergent. What image do you see in your mind when I say autistic student or neurodivergent student? Have you ever thought about what transitioning to the workforce looks like for neurodivergent students? Typically, it's a journey that's filled with social and emotional battles from elementary school to the workplace. Think about the TV show Young Sheldon. Young Sheldon is a coming-of-age sitcom centered around the life of a child genius labeled socially impaired. While Sheldon is considered gifted, there are overlapping characteristics. Both Sheldon and neurodivergent students face internal conflicts and challenges as they struggle with social interactions and social norms. Traditional schools, systems, and company cultures are not designed for all. Neurodivergent children and adults struggle to fit into an outdated mold that doesn't meet their needs. Many challenges are misunderstood as behavior issues rather than differences based on neuroscience. Neurodivergent college students and adults have higher rates of mental health challenges due to feelings of isolation and depression. A common practice is covering up their real identity with a mask. This masking causes stress and anxiety from not being able to express their authentic self. What is at stake is the future of young neurodivergent talent that experiences a delayed launch in the world. Nearly 42% of adults on the autism spectrum never work. Our society has a dark and unspoken view of neurodiversity as an intellectual disability. This view believes neurodivergent people have below average IQs and no value in the workforce. This is far from the truth. Neurodiversity has nothing to do with intelligence or IQ. Many neurodivergent people actually have above average IQs and can be considered duly identified as gifted, a prodigy, a savant, or simply a genius. In recent years, a shift has occurred. A few education systems recognize the potential of neurodivergent students by providing specialized support. The Center for Autism and Neurodiversity at Drexel University is a student-centered program that promotes academic and workforce skills. Drexel's co-op program allows students to gain on-the-job experience with top companies that value neurodivergent talent. These programs are essential at nurturing the next generation of neurodivergent professionals. Companies like Wells Fargo, Ernst Young, Goldman Sachs, and JPMorgan Chase have programs designed to recruit, support neurodivergent employees. Located in cities worldwide, these programs represent a shift in corporate culture towards inclusion, diversity, and belonging. These programs are not acts of charity. They are strategic business decisions that recognize the value of diverse minds in driving innovation and growth. These powerful institutions know that in the realm of STEM, creativity, problem solving, and thinking out of the box are required. Many neurodivergent minds have unique strengths like hyper-focusing, problem solving, and thinking outside the box. The ability to hyper-focus, think in patterns, and see connections others might are inherent traits that make neurodivergent individuals powerful players in the workforce. This is found in the story of two billionaires, Bill Gross and Michael Burry, both neurodivergent and diagnosed with autism. Bill Gross, known as the Bond King, co-founded PIMCO and turned it into one of the world's largest mutual funds. His unique approach to bond trading, characterized by unconventional strategies, great attention to detail, can be attributed to his neurodivergent mind. Michael Burry, another financial genius, famously predicted the 2008 financial crisis. His ability to see patterns and trends that others overlooked was his superpower. Inclusion isn't just a buzzword for me, it's a guiding principle. I see great potential for neurodivergent people in the financial sector. In the financial sector, which embraces physicists, computer scientists, and mathematicians, neurodiversity has become a secret superpower. Many young neurodivergent students are earning millions of dollars as quantitative traders, researchers, and developers right after college. Picture this: a diverse group of minds, each wired uniquely, converging and collaborating to create groundbreaking innovations. It's a new narrative on the infinite potential of the human mind and body. Join me in envisioning and reshaping a future where neurodiversity is not merely a concept to be accepted, but a reality of people to be embraced and appreciated. Neurodiversity is a positive term that attempts to describe how our brains engage with the world around us. Imagine a spectrum not of colors, but of cognitive experiences, thought processes, and perspectives. In this spectrum, conditions like autism, Asperger's, and ADHD are not viewed as deficits, but as unique strengths of the human mind. By creating strong support structures that foster well-being, equity, and inclusion, highly skilled and untapped individuals and employees are on course to be successful. Let's champion neurodiversity not as a checkbox for diversity requirements, but as the driving force to propel humanity forward. Let's all embrace the power of neurodiversity together. Thank you.
Great things can happen when we choose to accept our neurological differences. Thank you again, Kenneth. I'm a senior here at GCU. Any seniors in the room? We're almost done. No seniors? Yikes. A few over there, thanks. We're almost done with our time here. And as I reflect on my time at GCU and prepare for the true adult life, I've been thinking about some common themes I've seen here at GCU. I'm not gonna roast anyone. That's not what I'm here for. It's not a comedy show. But I realize that in this GCU bubble, a lot of us are unsatisfied. If you're single, you want to be dating. If you're dating, you want to be married. If you're working, you miss your free time. And if you're not working, you want to be working, and on and on and on. We're always focused on not what's in front of us, but the next and the next and the next, and never embracing the now. The art of contentment seems to be lost in our generation. Or is it? Our final speaker is Grace Valentine. She will share with us how to embrace the uncharted territory of contentment. So let's welcome up our final speaker.
Just like many of you, I can reflect on countless times in my life when I did not feel content. From the time as a 5th grader when my feet grew before the rest of my body, I'm pretty sure I was 4'6" with size 8.5 feet. I remember shoe shopping with my mom, looking down at my Donald Duck feet, very upset that there were no hot pink sneakers in my size, just weird flip-flop wedges like my mom wore. I remember moving into my first apartment post-grad and being so excited about how I decorated that apartment. That was until I opened up Instagram and saw an influencer's apartment tour and saw her link her 10K bedroom furniture, and I was pretty discontent. Obviously, these are trivial examples of when I felt discontent, but I believe you and me both have countless moments when we have felt discontent. See, the thing about feeling discontent is it starts with us feeling like we do not have enough. Maybe we don't feel like we have enough money or a cool enough car. Maybe we don't think that we have cool enough relationships. Or maybe we don't even think our bodies are desirable enough. We desire more and feel unsatisfied with the life we have been given. But without realizing it, this discontentment we feel causes us to believe that we are not enough. And this discontentment makes us lack the confidence it takes to chase our dreams. And when we feel discontent, we lack the peace we need in our present to succeed. We settle for less, and we feel anxious often. The Wall Street Journal has said that the newest generation of Generation Z is the most pessimistic generation in history. And what's interesting is contentment in the dictionary is defined as being in a state of happiness and satisfaction. I would even go on to define contentment as being confident in who you are and okay with who you are not. And if we're being honest here, pessimistic sounds like the opposite of being happy and satisfied. That is why in 2024, it feels like uncharted territory to choose contentment in our life. So often in our world, we can either become self-obsessed or self-loathing. And we desire to have happy and successful lives. But when we desire to have happy and successful lives, we can't be self-obsessed or self-loathing. Oftentimes when we're self-obsessed, we have ignorance that we call confidence. But the truth is, it's not confidence, it's ignorance. And when we're self-loathing, we have insecurity we call contentment. C.S. Lewis defined humility as not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. If we desire a content life, we don't need cheap knockoff confidence, and we don't need to hate ourselves and have no goals for our future. What we truly need is to be self-aware. When we are aware of our giftings, our strengths, have humility, and also see our weaknesses, that is when we can choose contentment. And this contentment helps us find peace in our present moments and purpose in our lives. And that sounds easy, right? But like I said earlier, in 2024, in the world of social media and living like we have something to prove, it can be harder than ever to choose contentment. And it is crucial, especially for you and I, to choose contentment in our relationships, in our career, and in our personal well-being. Oftentimes in our relationships, it can be very hard to choose contentment. PEW research has found that young adults today are more dissatisfied than ever when it comes to the dating scene. And I'm sure some of you know that to be true, right, young adults? The American Psychiatric Association has also found that in 2024, 30% of adults say that they are lonely every single week, and 10% of adults say they are lonely every single day. In a world where connection is possible at our fingertips, how come we are lonelier than ever? Oftentimes, the reason that we are lonely is because we just try to prove we are worth loving when we meet relationships. When we do this, we lack the confidence it takes to find fulfilling relationships. When you have confidence in self-love, you won't settle for relationships that constantly leave you unhappy and dissatisfied. And when you realize that these relationships you choose are impactful for your life, You're going to choose ones that are fulfilling. Oftentimes, we meet people, like I said earlier, and we try to prove that we are worth loving. And when we do this, we just waste our time. We waste our energy and we waste our space. And I know for me personally, I've seen that happen in my life. A loving life does not try to prove that they are worth loving. And a content person has the confidence it takes to know their worth while also the grace to forgive other imperfect people. And when you deal with other imperfect people who are your friends, your family, and your coworkers, you need to learn how to love radically and trust wisely. And love isn't a scoreboard keeping calculations of when one person shows up, reaches out, or does the right thing. Yet love is also wise enough to not trust people who are going to hurt you. Love is also wise enough to not change oneself to please other people. And if you live a loving and a content life, you will already know that you're worthy of love before you meet relationships. In our career, it can be harder than ever today to choose contentment. And oftentimes that's because we are showing up to our present task, dreading what we have to do today and awaiting what's next. I think there's an incorrect assumption that if you are content in your career, finances, and life, that means that you lack ambition, career, and goals. But the truth is, you cannot chase what's next in success if you don't first show up to your present placement well and execute the small things well. I'll never forget in 2020, I was laid off on a mass phone call, and I left the job feeling betrayed, hurt, and frustrated. And during that time, I knew in order to pay my bills, I was going to have to take on some side gigs, and it wasn't going to be the life I imagined. I had dreams of becoming a full-time author and speaker. And so I ended up taking a full-time nanny job during that time. And I remember at first being very annoyed because at 24, I thought I would be getting cute cocktails with my friends after work, having a cute big girl job, wearing a cute Banana Republic suit. And instead, I was wearing athleisure and playing freeze dance, red light, green light, and listening to Cocomelon. And it was frustrating at first. And I remember complaining to a friend about this and saying, this is not the life I imagined. I have dreams, I have goals. But then my friend told me, you being upset about this career won't change it. So finally, I changed my perspective. I tried to choose contentment, and I worked hard at finding joy in my pleasant placement. Was it a good thing for me to get laid off on a mass phone call? No. But was there joy and growth to be found in that time? Yes. So here are some of my favorite pictures from those days. And so what's cool is a job that I once was upset about ended up becoming a treasured memory. I didn't expect to be a nanny for 2.5 years, but I'm better for it, and I'm better at my job today because of it. And there's joy to be found there. See, a bad thing can become a good thing in your life if you make it a growing thing. The worst moment of your life, the hard relationship with your coworker, the hard layoff, the not so nice email chain with you and that one girl at work can all help you become better if you allow it to become a growing thing. A content life chooses to grow in their career, even when it's an unexpected struggle. And when you choose contentment in your career, you end up growing when you face unexpected struggles. In my personal well-being, it's also been hard for me, and I think many of us, to choose contentment. And I think it's because we live in a world of comparison. It is so easy for us to pick up our phone, look someone up on social media, like what they have and want what they have, and suddenly we wish we were them. I'll never forget at 17 years old, I did the immature thing after a high school dating relationship didn't work out by looking up the girl that boyfriend at the time betrayed me for on social media. Has any girls here done that before, right? Just me? Okay, you know. And I remember when I did that, I thought I was going to comfort myself, that I would look up her profile and I would show it to my friends and they would say, "Oh, Grace, you're so much prettier. He's totally missed out. Like, you're so much better." And then I would be comforted and it'd be great. And I'd realize I'm such a catch and he is a loss. But then I looked up her profile and turns out the girl was very beautiful and in many terms, prettier than me, many would say. She was even a college cheerleader, so that was great, you know? But she was even smarter than me. So comparison didn't comfort me at that time. In fact, it only confused me. And comparison is always cruel to yourself and to others. Comparison confuses your purpose for someone else's life and confuses your goals for shining, meaningless objects instead of a meaningful life. If you choose comparison, you're only going to be cruel to yourself. I often think about my grandmother, who I like to call as my best friend. Here are some pictures of us too. We go on a lot of adventures together. And she looks great, doesn't she? I know. And what I love about my grandma is our lives are wildly different. I'm pretty sure at 21 years old, she was getting married to my grandpa, and at 21, I was crying about a guy I didn't even date. Any other girls been there? No? Once again, just me. I think we always do that. We look at other people's lives, and it's so different, and we compare ourselves. And my grandma started having kids when I published my first book. What's crazy to think is I have opportunities she didn't have, and she has things in her life that I want one day, but I do not have currently. But my grandma is my greatest cheerleader, and I'm her greatest admirer, I like to think. We as a whole, as humans, will get farther in this life if we are cheering each other on. A content heart and a content life does not compare. It doesn't try to be better than someone else. It seeks to be the best version of oneself. And when you do this, when you actually live in contentment, you cheer people on. You realize that everyone around you is your teammate and not your competitor. You see the good in their life, and you see the good in your life today. When I think back on all the moments as a young girl and young adult in this world, when I struggled with discontentment, insecurity, feeling like I wasn't enough, I can see that I missed out. I missed out on becoming better. I felt anxious, I felt overwhelmed, and I felt frustrated. But when I finally learned, and I grew, and I chose contentment, I was able to become the best version of myself and find success in my life. But for me, this also took understanding that contentment is a daily choice. You don't just one day say, I want to be content with life, and suddenly you're in a land of peace, and everything's great, and you're never jealous of that coworker or jealous of that friend who has something you want. Contentment is a choice you have to make daily. And you have to choose it in your relationships, in your career, and in your personal well-being. And when you do this, you will find success. And success doesn't come with always a job tomorrow that is your dream job, or fame and followers, or life always going your way. True success comes from getting to the end of this world and realizing that you lived a life well lived. That you didn't waste your time trying to prove you're worth loving, you just were loving. You didn't waste your time trying to prove yourself. You showed up and you were content with the life that you were given. So you cannot always change your circumstances, but you can find true success when you change your perspective. Thank you so much.
With practice, the art of contentment can become a normal part of our lives. Thank you again, Grace. Tonight we've heard amazing talks about uncharted territory. It's a common theme that oftentimes you have to resort to something that's unconventional in order to combat a problem or to succeed. This might be changing the food that you eat in order to save the planet, killing the habit of comparison and being content, thriving in chaos, and even accepting our neurological differences. To me, uncharted territory can be taken in a literal sense. Let's say you arrive to a new land. It's going to take some time to get used to this land, right? It might involve you unlearning the things that you know and embracing new tactics in order to grow and to thrive. In a new territory, you have to resort to experts in that territory and be vulnerable enough to ask for help. When I was in Italy, I had to make the choice day by day, minute by minute, to be comfortable in the unknown. I had to be willing to adapt, fail, and to learn. But by depending on others and embracing every challenge with hope, I was able to conquer my uncharted territory. But how about you? The ball is now in your court. Our TEDx director team wanted to give you an opportunity to get equipped and skilled for your next uncharted territory. But we couldn't do it alone. So we're going to move on to recognize some of the community support that we got to put this event together. So please join me as we welcome up the Director of Finance, Grayson Masters, and the Vice President of Operations, Fatima Avalos.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grayson Masters, and I'm the Director of Finance here at TEDx GCU. With that, it gives me the amazing privilege to be able to thank some of the people that make this event possible. So first being the speakers who make TED possible, and next being the sponsors that make TED here at GCU possible. So with that, I would like to thank Freedom Pros, our staple sponsor, a select solar service. I'd like to thank Artists in Color for helping to bring our entire team's creative design ideas to life through banners, posters, and way more, which you see all over this arena. Next, I would like to thank Courtyard by Marriott for their continued hospitality over the years of TED. Renaissance Financial, a professional financial planning group. I'd also like to thank Charcuterie Collective, a professional charcuterie catering company. And lastly, I would like to thank Frame the Message Inc., who's been doing live drawings down here for the entire duration of the talks. And these will be available to see out in the lobby afterwards. Thank you all so much.
My name is Fatima Avalos, and I'm the Vice President of Operations and Development. And on behalf of the TEDx Grand Canyon University team, I would like to thank the Colangelo College of Business, Event Services, and our faculty advisor, Paul Waterman. Your commitment and unwavering support have been instrumental in making this event a reality. Thank you for believing in our vision and helping us bring it to life. Your dedication is truly appreciated. And now I have the privilege to welcome Abby Gage, our president and licensee holder.
Thank you. Like Fatima said, my name is Abby Gage, and I have the honor of serving as our president and licensee holder of TEDx Grand Canyon University. On behalf of our team, I truly hope that you enjoyed our event and you were intrigued by our series of 8 speakers and their ideas worth sharing. Each talk that you witness here tonight will be streamed on TEDx's global platform with a reach of over 40 curious minds. Now, if you're not familiar, TEDx Grand Canyon University is a completely student-organized, planned, and executed event. If you're a GCU student and you enjoyed tonight's event, I would highly encourage you to think about joining the team to make this event happen. Being on the team for the last 3 years is truly the most rewarding thing that I have done in my college career, and so if you're interested, I would love to talk to you more about what that looks like following the event. Finally, I want to say that this event would not have been possible if it were not for the grace of God. It is truly Christ who has coordinated every single moment of this event together, and I want to give him all the glory for how this event has turned out tonight. And so, yes, I would love to talk to you about TEDx Grand Canyon University and about this event, but even more than that, I would love to talk to you about Jesus and about Christ and the work that he has done in my life and in the works of this event. So, with that being said, please turn your attention to the screen to watch a recap of tonight's event.
Life is a series of steps. Often we find ourselves standing at the crossroads of familiarity and the unknown. But tonight is about moving beyond what's familiar and taking that step into the unknown, into uncharted territory.
We can choose to activate our emotional intelligence and show up as a cleaner communicator and collaborator.
When we dwell on certain emotions, they inflate, just like this balloon. If you find your feelings growing stronger and stronger, let them go.
So the next time you're in your grocery store or your favorite restaurant, let's put on a fresh set of eyes and ask ourselves, are we being scared or manipulated by labeling?
Each one of you, I invite you to thrive. I invite you to step up. I invite you to do your work.
Learning to define your success is key, and the success of others cannot dictate your own. And whatever it is you're passionate about is worth doing, no matter how well or how poorly you may do that thing.
You don't want success to come easily. You want to earn what you accomplish. It's the challenges we face, the obstacles we overcome, that change us into the people we want to be.
Just by planting the seeds of vulnerability, we have the ability to change the world.
And you have the ability to change your company and your community.
Let's champion neurodiversity not as a checkbox for diversity requirements, but as a driving force that propels humanity forward.
But no matter what, it's so important that we always remember that contentment is a daily choice. We don't just one day choose to be content and land in a world of peace where everything is okay. We have to wake up every day and choose to be content with the life we are given.
Uncharted territory is an opportunity for hope, growth, and new experiences. It is our hope that tonight your minds were expanded and that you were equipped with new information that will help you for your next uncharted territory. So on behalf of myself, Crystal Benjamin, and our whole TEDx Grand Canyon University team, thank you all for joining us for our 2024 main event. Let's give another round of applause for our amazing speakers tonight. So good. So if you want to leave, that's cool. You can stay if you want to, take some photos, mingle. And for our VIP guests, your 30-minute meet and greet will begin upstairs shortly. But everyone, I really hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank you for joining us. God bless.